My name is Michael Carter. I'm 42 years old. For the last 15 years, I worked in human resources at one of the biggest logistics companies in Pennsylvania. Not flashy, not glamorous, but steady, honest work. And I was proud of it. I helped people through layoffs, promotions, pregnancies, losses. I trained leaders how to lead. I believed in ethics, compliance, doing things right, even when no one was watching. Funny, right? I believed in those things so much, I forgot not everyone around me did. Because the real betrayal didn't come from a stranger. It didn't come from a competitor. It came from the guy I shared coffee with every Tuesday. Derek Sanders, our chief financial officer. Smooth talker. Always had the biggest laugh in the room. Wore custom suits, drove a black Escalade, donated just enough to charity to keep his image squeaky clean. I used to respect him. Hell, I defended him, more than once, when others questioned some of his more creative approaches. But all it took was one late-night payroll report. One number that didn't sit right. One rabbit hole I should have walked past, but didn't. And within 14 days, I went from a trusted, respected HR executive to standing in a parking lot with my security badge deactivated. They called it downsizing, said my position was being absorbed. But I knew better. They were scared. Scared of what I'd seen. Scared of what I'd saved. Because I didn't just notice the fraud. I documented it. And when they cut me loose, I didn't scream. I didn't make a scene. I just sent one email. A quiet message with 5 attachments. To one contact. At the FBI. You see, I didn't want revenge. I wanted accountability. And when those federal agents walked into that office 2 weeks later, let's just say, I got both. I started at Eastbridge Freight Systems when I was 27. Just a junior HR associate back then, fresh out of Temple University. No fancy connections. No shortcuts. Just hunger. Back then, the company was small. Family run. Payroll for 80 employees. A single warehouse. The owners, 2 brothers in their 60s, knew everyone by name. And I fell in love with that. With the people. With the trust. We weren't just numbers on spreadsheets. We were us. I worked hard. Showed up early. Stayed late. No scandals. No drama. Just slow, steady growth. By 35, I was running the HR department. I had an office. A team. And I truly believed I was helping build something honest. Something real. And for a while, it was. The company grew fast, really fast. We started landing state contracts, then regional accounts, then nationwide logistics deals. That's when Derek Sanders came in. Hired as CFO during our first big expansion push. Polished. MBA from Wharton. Slicker than anyone we'd seen before. At first, I admired him. He shook things up. Introduced performance-based incentives, quarterly audits, new vendor partnerships. He made us look legit. Scalable. Next level. The founders? They loved him. I did too, at first. Because the bonuses got bigger. Raises came quicker. I mean, there was one year I got a $14,000 performance bonus. HR never gets that. Ever. And I was proud, thought it was all finally paying off. But somewhere in that momentum, something shifted. It started small. A few vendors changing. New consulting firms popping up on our expense reports. One month, a guy named M. Creel billed $46,000 for strategy optimization. No one had ever heard of him. No office. No phone number. I flagged it. Derek laughed. Said it was a placeholder for a new acquisition deal. I let it go. Because at that point, I trusted him. He was the golden boy. And hey, we were growing, right? Besides, the rest of the leadership team was too busy cashing in to care. There were trips to Vegas, private retreats, company-sponsored cruises. And I started to feel out of place. Like the quiet guy in a room full of gamblers. But I stayed. Because I believed in the work. In the people below me who still showed up every morning, just trying to keep their jobs and feed their families. They didn't have yachts. They had rent. And someone had to look out for them. There's this quote I used to keep on my desk. Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. I looked at it every day. Until one morning, I realized I was the only one in that office still reading it. It started with an email. From Jared, one of our junior payroll analysts. Smart kid. Fresh out of Drexel. Quiet, but sharp. He wrote, "Hey Michael, not trying to stir anything, but something looks off with this Q4 vendor list. Can we talk?" It was a casual message. But I'd been around long enough to know. Casual messages often hide real fear. I called him in, closed the door. And the moment he sat down, I saw it in his eyes. He wasn't just worried. He was scared. Jared showed me an internal report we weren't supposed to see, an automated draft meant for the finance department. It listed consulting payouts totaling over $480,000 in the last 6 months. Here's the problem. There were no corresponding projects, no strategy sessions, no deliverables, just vague entries. Risk mitigation, logistics optimization, corporate advisory, all under firms no one had ever worked with directly. And most of them? All tied to one address. A private mailbox in Delaware. I told Jared to forward me the report and say nothing. Not to anyone. He nodded, stood up, and left. That was the moment it started. I pulled every invoice we filed under external consultants for the past 12 months. Matched them against employee calendars, department needs, project approvals. And one name kept coming up, tucked inside line items, often split across different departments. MK Holdings, Ltd. Sounded legit. Had a fancy logo. A clean website. Except when I checked the corporate ID registry, it led to a shell company. Registered by a holding firm called Sanders Advisory Group. Yeah. Derek Sanders. I didn't sleep much that night. My wife noticed. Asked if work was getting to me. I just smiled and said, "Just payroll season. You know how it is." But inside, I was already racing ahead. What I'd found wasn't just an accounting error. It was fraud. Full-scale, premeditated fraud. And the more I looked, the deeper the rot went. The next day, I got a meeting request from Linda, the HR director above me. She rarely reached out directly. The subject line? Just one word. Review. We met in her office. Blinds half drawn. She didn't offer coffee. Didn't smile. She asked if I'd been reviewing any financial files that weren't under HR jurisdiction. I paused. Told her I was prepping for our annual compliance check. Which was true, in part. She nodded slowly. Then said, "Some departments are feeling exposed. It's best to stay in your lane right now, Michael." Translation? Back off. That night, someone tried to remotely access my company email. I got a system alert on my personal phone. something only admins and HR managers received. I changed my password, backed up my personal notes to a flash drive, printed a few key reports, and then I started documenting everything. Every login, every download, every internal email I was CC'd on. I didn't make noise, didn't talk to Jared again, didn't whisper a word to anyone. I just watched, waited, logged, and one by one, the walls around me started closing in. 3 days later, Derek walked into my office unannounced, closed the door, sat down in my guest chair. He smiled, leaned forward, and said, "You've been looking at a lot of files lately. That part of your new job?" I didn't blink, didn't flinch, just stared back at him and said, "I like understanding how things fit together." He paused, then gave this half smile and said, "Well, don't go looking so deep that you forget where your paycheck comes from." And just like that, the real game had begun. It was a Tuesday, end of quarter. The office was buzzing with bonus rumors and early departures. But I wasn't leaving early. I stayed late. On purpose. Because that afternoon, I'd received something I never should have seen, but couldn't ignore. One of our automated vendor payment systems had glitched and flagged a duplicate invoice. $38,550, marked under strategic onboarding. But the signature approval? It wasn't just Derek's. It was forged under my name. Same initials, same format, but not my hand. Not even close. That's when everything clicked. This wasn't sloppy fraud. This was carefully designed manipulation, and now they were dragging me into it, using my name, tainting my credibility, setting me up just in case things went sideways. And that's when the fear stopped. Because when you realize they've already decided to burn you, there's no point trying to stay safe anymore. There's only one thing left to do. Fight smart. I didn't scream. Didn't storm down to Derek's office or confront HR. I walked calmly to the break room, poured myself a cup of lukewarm coffee, then went back to my desk and started backing everything up. I pulled 3 years of expense records, cross-referenced them with login histories and employee exits, pulled emails, calendar invites, even security camera logs where employees never actually met with the consultants they were supposed to be working with. And I took it all, put it on an encrypted drive, titled the folder MK Network Full Trace, and mailed a copy to myself and another to a contact I hadn't spoken to in 5 years. Special Agent Dana Reed, FBI, Financial Crimes Division. The next morning, I came in early. My key card didn't work. A guard I'd trained 2 years ago gave me this apologetic look and said, "Sorry, Mr. Carter. They told us this might happen." I smiled, said nothing, and turned around. An hour later, I got the call. Linda from HR. Her voice was robotic, scripted. She said my role was being phased out, that they'd be offering a severance package. I asked what the reason was. She didn't answer, just repeated, "The company's undergoing a shift in direction." I didn't argue, didn't ask for an exit interview, didn't even ask to come get my things, because I knew what they didn't. I already had everything I needed. They thought they fired a paper pusher, an HR guy. What they didn't know was that I had documented every single step, every lie, every transfer, every forged signature. I didn't cry that night. I didn't drink. I didn't rage. I started planning. Because if they were going to burn everything down, I was going to hand them the match personally. The night they fired me, I didn't tell my wife the whole story. Just that things at work had changed. She hugged me, made tea, said, "You'll land on your feet. You always do." She had no idea I was already midair. The first thing I did was make a clean copy of the flash drive. One for the FBI, one for myself, and one that I stored with my attorney, sealed, time-stamped, and notarized. I also logged every contact I had in the company. Emails, text chains, internal memos. I didn't want revenge. I wanted insurance. Because I knew Derek. And I knew this wouldn't be over just because I was gone. Step 1. Legal cover. I contacted my employment attorney. Explained everything, calmly, factually. Laid out the documents, the forged signature, the financial trails. She went pale. Then she asked one question. "Have you shared this with law enforcement yet?" I smiled. "It's already en route." Step 2. Activate the feds. Agent Dana Reed and I hadn't spoken since 2018, back when I helped identify a fake disability ring involving a former vendor. But she remembered me. Picked up on the second ring. "Michael? Haven't heard from you in a while. What's going on?" I didn't speak for the first 5 seconds. Just said, "I think you'll want to see this." The email I sent her had a PDF timeline of vendor payments, copies of signatures used under false authorization, internal notes showing inflated invoice patterns, and most importantly, a list of personally connected LLCs tied to Derek's name. She replied within the hour, "We're opening a case. Don't talk to anyone else. We'll take it from here." The hardest part? Doing nothing. No social media posts. No, they fired me unfairly. Rants. No hint that I was watching their every move. Because I knew Derek. He was arrogant, but not stupid. The moment he smelled pressure, he'd start erasing things. So I let him feel safe. Let him think he'd won. Over the next 10 days, I watched quietly from the outside. Their website changed. Several consultant pages disappeared. One of the shell LLCs was renamed. An internal memo leaked to LinkedIn. Leadership realignment. I got 2 anonymous texts. "Thank you for what you did. They're starting to panic." I didn't reply to either. Just saved the screenshots. Then, exactly 13 days after my termination, I got the call. Unmarked number. Blocked ID. "Mr. Carter? This is Special Agent Reed. Just wanted to let you know, we'll be paying your old company a visit tomorrow morning." I didn't sleep that night. Not out of fear, out of clarity. Because I knew the next morning, every lie they built would start unraveling. Not with noise. Not with a bang. But with 4 men in black jackets and a single sentence. "We're going to need access to your financial records now." July 19th, 8:03 a.m. 3 black SUVs pulled up to the building I once helped build. The receptionist barely had time to ask who they were before the badges came out. "Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're here to speak with Derek Simmons and the executive finance team." Inside, the CFO was sipping his usual $9 coffee. By 8:17 a.m., he was in handcuffs. They didn't even go to Derek first. They went to the servers, the cloud storage vault, the payroll systems. They had a full search warrant, signed, sealed, and ready. The part one never told anyone. I had already handed over the admin passwords 2 days earlier. Quietly. Anonymously. Because when I walked out of that building 3 weeks ago, I took my access with me. Word spread like wildfire. The sales floor froze. HR was instructed not to let anyone leave. Phones were confiscated. One intern live tweeted the whole thing. "Holy crap! FBI is raiding our office. Our CFO is being arrested. What is happening?" It went viral within hours. Over 300K retweets by nightfall. Derek's face? I wish I could have seen it in person. But the photo from the security camera leak was more than enough. Eyes wide. Mouth slightly open. Suit half-buttoned. And right behind him, Agent Dana Reed. She wasn't smiling. But I was. Within 48 hours, Derek was formally charged with embezzlement, fraud, and wire tampering. CFO was charged with falsifying financial documents. The board held an emergency press conference, full of apologies and rehearsed regret. I received a formal apology email from the company's legal team. And then, my attorney got a call from the board's external legal counsel. They wanted a meeting. Quiet. Private. No press. We met in a neutral office 2 days later. They offered a settlement. High six figures. No gag order. I said, "I don't want your money. I want the truth to stay public." But they insisted. "This isn't hush money. It's restitution." I took it. But I didn't sign anything that stopped me from telling this story. That's why you're hearing it now. Meanwhile, internal restructuring began. Derek's name was scrubbed from the company's About Us page. The new CEO was the same man Derek once tried to fire, and who, quietly, had supported me behind the scenes. A week later, I received a handwritten note. "You were right to stand your ground. The company is better without them. If you ever want to come back, the door is open." I didn't go back. But I kept the letter. Link satisfaction hook. In the end, I didn't yell. Didn't threaten. Didn't burn anything down. I let the truth speak. And when it did, it was louder than any revenge I could have screamed. Because the best revenge isn't shouting in anger. It's watching them collapse under the weight of their own corruption, while you stand tall, unbothered, and free. It's been 19 months. I live in a smaller town now. Population under 20,000. You can walk the whole main street in 6 minutes, and still stop to pet 3 dogs and wave at 4 neighbors. My new job? Consulting for small veteran-owned businesses. It doesn't pay nearly as much. But I sleep better. I eat slower. I smile more. Sometimes I still wake up at 5:30 a.m. Old habits die hard. But instead of checking a Slack notification or a company-wide crisis email, I step outside. And I listen to the quiet. It's beautiful. I never heard from Derek again. But I did hear he took a plea deal. No prison, but heavy fines, permanent ban from financial institutions, and a ruined career. The CFO? 3 years federal. He's serving time right now. He still thinks someone snitched. He's right. But I'll never confirm it. Because I don't need to. The truth already did its job. I kept my journal from that time. Some entries were written in anger. Some in heartbreak. One page I reread often just says, "They broke my job. But they didn't break me." That line stuck with me. Because for a long time, I did feel broken. Like all the years I gave, all the loyalty, all the late nights, meant nothing. But now I realize, I never gave it for them. I gave it because I believed in what I was doing. And that's something no one can take away. My name is Michael Grady. I'm 43 years old. And I've finally built a life that isn't based on fear, or control, or titles. It's based on peace. On quiet mornings. on doing work that actually helps people, and on the unshakable fact that even when no one believed me, I believed myself. So if you're listening to this, and you're sitting at a desk right now, being overlooked, ignored, or pushed down by someone who shouldn't even be leading, remember this. Truth has a long game, and when it hits, it doesn't miss. Thank you for hearing my story. If it helped you, even just a little, hit subscribe. There are more of us out there, and I promise you, you're not alone.